Howdy y'all. It's been over a year since these two pieces were together, but today we're gonna put the engine on the rest of the Lefty. We got our track frames all assembled and ready to go. We've got the chains assembled, painted, and ready to go. We've got the body panels and the guards and the fuel tank and everything else all ready to assemble. It was only a couple of years ago when this corner of the shop was just a heap of 4G parts. We're having a discussion about how we're going to pick this and rig it, and it's possible we put too much stuff on this engine before we decided to pick it, but anyway, that's where we're at. So one of the plans that I thought of was to jack the whole engine up, put it on blocks, and then just lift this back end of Lefty and set it on. Then we don't have to worry about the rigging damaging anything on the top of the engine. Or simply just pick the engine up and hook it up to here. Probably going to use the big white spreader bar that we have, and in conjunction with that, maybe one of the other spreader bars so that we can tip it, but we're doing some thinking here. Okay, I think we got this figured out, and the plan is to use the big long spreader bar up here. I've got a spreader bar we'll put across the front. The adjustable spreader bar will go across the back so that we can tip it, and Dad's bringing the big spreader bar for the top, and we're gonna team lift this up there and hook it to the Goliath crane over here. One step to make it easier to rig this pick, Dad's going to go ahead and take this air cleaner off, because we're going to pick it off bolts here, back here on the bell housing, and on the other side for the bell housing, and up there on the front cover too. I've got our rigging kind of buttoned up here with the big spreader bar in the middle. I'm going to have this one up in the front that I can move from side to side. It's rated for 2 tons, but it's going to be picking up half of the engine. And then I've got this that we're going to put on the back, and that'll get us wide enough to get past the radiator. Well, maybe not past, but at least we won't have that angle of the chain where it's going to interfere with things.
We ought to be sure these are good and clean too.
Yeah, I'll get some emery on those dowel pins, make sure that those are going to engage. We've already chased the threads. I've got grease in the pilot bearing. We got the bolts here. They're ready. They're cleaned up. They're painted.
I'll put a little grease on this too.
Yeah, we'll put some on the shaft going into the pilot bearing.
Our cotter pin is bent nice.
Oh, this is a big step. What are we forgetting? There's something we're going to find out later. I hope not.
We can access our pinion through this plate, which is...
Yep, right there.
I don't know who left a little 1.5-inch hole for that, but that's all we have.
We got that. We can get into the clutch from here.
Maybe we better bend these just a little bit more than they are.
I think so.
Let me do that before we forget.
Okay. I guess I'll bring Goliath over here, huh?
Yeah.
I just thought of something, that we're going to have to release the clutch so we can line this toothed disc up inside the flywheel. Because it sticks out a little bit past this housing, we should be able to keep an eye on it and guide it into there. We're going to put something on the valve cover up here so that we can keep it from getting damaged again. We're doing a bit of a test pick here.
Can you let off?
So we can see how level this is going to pick.
Is your chain clear in over there?
No, it's kind of out on the edge. Let me push it in. And these are all grade 8 bolts, and they're all in as far as we can get it.
Go ahead.
There we go. Okay. Drop the back a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me let it down.
Yeah. twisted now, too.
Well, let me twist it with this spreader bar. Are we all? Yeah, we're way off the ground. Let's see which way.
The other way.
To go. Can you hold that? Keep your toes out from
Yeah,
me.
I am.
Is that level?
Yeah, that's doing it.
So we need to
Shorten these front
shorten
ones.
the front ones and lengthen the, or just lengthen the back ones. I'm gonna lift this up and we're gonna set the front of this engine on these stands for tonight, and the back we're just gonna block up on blocks. You got it centered where you want it?
Yeah.
What we're trying to do here is mimic the angle that this is sitting with the engine here. So we're gonna let it down on the stands up front and block it up in the back and lengthen the chains accordingly. I don't know why we're so worried about this. We should shoot for level. Yeah. We're gonna leave it on these blocks. It's also rigged and held from the hoist, so it can't go anywhere tonight. It's picking level, and I think we're gonna go ahead and leave it there. We can control the pitch on the back here, side to side, with that spreader bar. We've got a jack under the front of that so we can pick it up and change the level to line things up. We got the tools ready, we got the bolts ready. I think we're ready. So we're gonna put this thing together. We're too high, I can see, because our gap down in the bottom's further apart. So,
Oh yeah,
here, what I need to do is jack the front of this back here up a little bit.
Well, it needs to go down.
No.
Oh, okay.
There, see?
All right, how are you with your dowel pin on that side?
I'm good. I think draw it up on each side. Let me get a 3/4 wrench. We'll draw it up close, and then we'll put that flywheel disc in.
Now the teeth need to line up. Can you turn it with that bar?
Yeah. I don't know which way to go.
Well,
Because here they're lined up. Right now we're putting in some longer bolts so that we can at least line everything up and draw it up. And we need to get that clutch plate lined up with the teeth on the flywheel and make sure that the pilot shaft is going into the pilot bearing on the flywheel.
this went relatively easy.
The tooth disc right there, we need to get into the flywheel.
See, I got that and started by hand.
All these bolts are going easy, nice and smooth.
They are.
Right there.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
If we could tighten together, we got it. There, hey, look.
What?
That's lining it up. We got it together actually with relatively easy, easier than I thought was going to be actually. And the way that we did this was we put longer bolts in here to draw it up and then just took a screwdriver to hold that clutch plate to line it up with the teeth on the flywheel. And we got this all together. Actually, every bolt in here went in easy.
The hardest
by
part,
finger, yeah.
The hardest part was getting the clutch plate in the flywheel lined up.
Yes.
That was harder than getting the engine lined up to the bell housing.
Yeah, everything else went pretty smooth. There's one interference bolt here for the top cover. I'm going to have to actually take that back out because I want to torque all of these bell housing bolts. So I had to take this little cover off of here so we can get this bolt here. I can get my torque wrench on it. All these bolts are lightly lubricated. They're grade 8 half-inch bolts. I'm going to torque them to 80. I ended up torquing those at like 90, 95, a little bit more. I figured they could use just a smidge more. And this is definitely the weakest part of this tractor, right here where the bell housing attaches to the rear end. And that's a lot of bolts holding it, but if it's gonna break, that's where it's probably gonna break. In case you wanna know, that's 20 bolts, 20 half-inch bolts. So I think we're going to figure out a way we can set this down and block it up so that we can get track frames and start putting the rest of this together. We were just commenting how much easier having Goliath made this job. And my rigging was all right. What do you think about my rigging?
Oh, it was excellent. We were able to control it every way we needed to. And actually, the two pieces went together well. It's like I said before, the hardest part was getting the clutch disc into the flywheel.
Yep. Once we got that lined up, everything actually screwed in by hand.
I mean, most of them bolts we screwed in with our fingers.
Yeah, it was cakewalk after that. We got the engine on there. I do want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. I think it needs some tracks. Really starting to look like something, isn't it? Dad's got nothing to say.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't know you were talking to me. I thought you were talking to the audience.
Yeah, we don't know who we're talking to half the time. We're trying to talk to you guys all the time. I mean, you're here with us. Everything's lightly lubricated. They're grade 8s. Shut up, phone. I ended up torquing those at like 90, 95, a little bit more, because when I got to 80, they seemed to click off a little too soon, so I figured they could use just a smidge more. I figured they could use just a smidge I did it again.